Hello and welcome to the Browns Blitz. Today is Thursday, May the 8th. This is episode number 295. I'm your host, Rod Bloom. I'm going to bring my brother, Jeff, in. Hey, Jeff.
Hey, Rod.
How's
So
it
it's
going, man?
big day today. So an American was elected Pope.
Yeah.
And in other news, health froze over and the Browns are favored to win the Super Bowl.
In what year?
Whenever this Pope dies, I think.
He's like in his 60s, Jeff.
Yeah. It's a ways out. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
one of those
ways
days.
out.
And just latest sign of the apocalypse.
Yeah. Yeah. We saw the what is it? The black smoke that came out when they elected him, or
White smoke. White smoke means either it means they found a guy or they're all getting high. I forget which.
Yeah, like my neighbors. That's one thing I can tell it's summer because we open up the windows in the living room and I can smell my neighbors' marijuana when they light them up. Their marijuanas, I can smell them. So
nice.
It gets very fragrant in my neck of the woods and in the summertime. I mean, it's kind of summertime. It's close enough. So
party neighborhood.
Speaking well, at my neighbor's house, anyways. Yeah.
Awesome.
All right, let's get going. Let's bring our guest in. Yeah, you can follow her at LaVida Lysandra. Hey, Lysandra, how are things going?
Good. Thanks for having me. How are you guys?
Very good. Everybody can check you out on the Real Pod Squad. That's at the Real Pod Squad, BouchieSports.net. Mm-hmm. And let's give you a minute to plug what you have going on over there.
Yeah, so give us a follow at Bougie Sports on YouTube and check us out at BougieSports.net. And the Squad Pod is actually going to be on May 13th at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, and we will be talking about Mental Health Awareness Month since it's May, as well as the Cavs, and we do have a special guest from The Voice, Cleveland's own Hayden Grove, so that's pretty exciting. Yeah,
that's cool. Very cool. Well, we appreciate you joining us tonight.
I appreciate you having me.
Absolutely. We're gonna talk some Browns and see what we can figure out what's going on with them right now. Before we do that,
Lysandra, I have to tell you, sorry, Rod, that the Cavs aren't helping my mental health right now.
Me neither. That last game that one kind of took my breath away. I was like, how could you let this man get an offensive rebound, dribble it back out, and then just shoot a three for the game? Like, what kind of shit is that? Terrible.
That was rough. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a totally Cleveland thing to happen. I mean,
right.
Yeah.
Definitely. You got that right.
Totally Cleveland thing to happen.
Yeah, so we'll get into the Browns. Cavs may come up from time to time.
Got to throw them in there.
They may. Let's talk about our Blitz beverages segment and what we are drinking tonight. Lysandra, let's go you first. Guest always gets to go first on this show.
Yeah.
So what are you drinking?
Well, before I start, I want to preface by saying that normally I'm an IPA lady. I like a good citrusy IPA, but for today, I'm doing a White Claw Surge. These are a little stronger than the regular white canned ones, about 8%, so it packs a nice little punch and goes down pretty smoothly. And all you need is like one.
Nice. Those come in different flavors.
Yeah, they have several or two different variety packs that I saw at my local liquor store. So yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Sweet.
Cool. Jeff, are you drinking one of your typical?
Well, just a Lake Erie highball tonight, Rod.
Okay, that's what I thought. So nothing wrong with that. We'll save the good stuff for another show.
Right. Maybe on a night when I'm in more of a party mood.
It is a school night.
Yeah, maybe after the Cavs win, something like that, or maybe we get closer to the football season, you'll be feeling a little bit more. So
Yeah.
Anyways, guys, I am drinking a let's see, and I sent Jeff a picture of this because this is from Sloop Brewing, and Jeff's not on X anymore, but his ad on X was at Sloop Doggy Dog. So I thought this was pretty cool. So this is from Sloop Brewing in somewhere in New York.
I have nothing to do with this.
Yeah, this is a Hoppy Haymaker double dry hopped hazy IPA.
Very nice.
So
Awesome.
it's pretty good. Pretty good.
I know you have it's you that has the refrigerator full of goodies, don't you?
I do. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I follow your your post there. I see.
I haven't posted a picture in a long time.
Yeah, but I remember. I like beer, so I don't forget that.
Yeah. Yeah, I've thought about, I could probably just do a fundraiser and just, everybody come by and drop $5 in the, in a bucket to raise money for something and come in and grab a beer and we just,
Have a
chat
good time.
for a while and pay your $5
There
and
you
we'll
go.
probably raise 10 grand or something just out of my fridge.
Sounds like a plan.
Jeez, I'm down.
Yeah. I bet if anybody, there's a few people that live down here in the Dayton area, but not a whole lot. So
Oh, you're in Dayton. Okay.
I'm in Dayton. So yeah, it'd be a little bit of a road trip for most people, but so they might want more than one beer. That might
Oh,
not be a
I'd come
bad
with
thing,
like
huh?
$40.
$40, 8. Okay. Yeah, that would probably work. That would work. So
Spending the weekend, huh?
Yeah. Yeah. Do you have
Well,
extra spots to crash?
yeah. Yeah. But yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I'm kind of proud of the beer fridge. So that's a cool thing.
For sure.
You've left
Actually,
a mark on
Rod-
me, that's for sure. I remember.
Rod's
the
a real
fridge.
beer snob.
I'm
He's
kind
a
of
real beer snob. In fact, I'm kind of surprised that, with you being on the show tonight, Lysandra, that you didn't come up with a little more bougie beer.
I would say, that's what I wanted to do, but I had my kid with me and I don't like taking my kid to the liquor store. So
Yeah.
I just
get
went-
that.
Totally understand it.
But all Rod had to do was walk out to the garage.
excuse me.
Yeah. Yeah, just the garage. Yeah. The hardest part's just picking one out, Jeff.
Right.
Sometimes I spend a few minutes out there just trying to figure out, okay, what have I had over the past several shows, and I'm trying to pick something different out.
Right.
But
Exactly.
this is one of those that came in the mail, special delivery. So I had 2 of these out here, so I knew I hadn't had one yet.
Uh-huh. Okay.
Plus, it's
Gotcha.
a convenient, pint size.
I hope that's not the fire alarm, Lysandra.
No, but the fire alarm does tend to go off at my house quite often. So
Oh, geez.
for some reason, I have all the electronics in my room and my kids are sorry about that.
That is all right.
There's one coming right now to grab.
Okay.
So we are to another segment. I don't have a special banner for this, but anytime we have a guest on for the first time, we like to hear the story of their Browns fandom, because everybody's is a little bit unique. So Lysandra, if you just want to kind of share with us, how you became a Browns fan, any special moments or anything you want to share. So we'll just turn the floor over to you.
Thanks. Well, I just want to start by saying I was born this way. I was born in Cleveland. Born and raised a Browns fan. So I was born this way. My mom was really into sports. So growing up as a little girl, one thing that I started watching first before football was basketball. And we always watched the Cavs games. She went to a lot of the Cavs playoff games in the 70s at Richfield Coliseum and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then in the 80s, I started getting into watching the Cavs and, the Bulls and all that kind of stuff. And then I got into football. And for me, what really drew me to the Browns, outside of the fact that I was just born to be a Browns fan, is I share the same birthday as Bernie. So I thought that was just the coolest thing in the world, to have the same birthday as Bernie Kosar, and I was in love ever since. So that's kind of like where it really stuck with me. But some of the memorable moments that I have, I would say the first thing I do remember crying about is the drive. So that is the first moment of heartbreak for me when I was a little kid, was watching the drive, and John Elway drive from the 98 yards. And living here in Denver, I am constantly reminded of it. So it's
bless your heart.
Yeah, it's a joy. So yeah, I mean, I born to be a Browns fan, lived in Denver for quite a while, and have defended my Browns fiercely in enemy territory. So yeah,
wow.
that's my story. And then my fandom got even, I became even more in love with the Browns once I got on Twitter, because I found a whole, being in Denver, nobody really likes the Browns. There's a few little pockets of Browns fans out here. And but as far as people who can relate to me on a daily basis, I found them on Twitter, and been on Twitter forever. But probably 6 or 7 years ago, I just decided I just want to focus on the Browns. And then I just started building a following of Browns fans and relating, and I've made some amazing friends. So I can't wait.
Yeah.
I'll be moving back to Cleveland here soon. So I can't wait to connect with some of the fans and tailgate, and just, unite with some of and put some names, some faces to the names that I've seen online. Can't wait.
Very cool. Yeah,
Nice.
that's awesome. Yeah.
Thanks.
All right, guys, let's dig in. I mean, honestly, there's not a ton happening right now. The draft stuff has kind of died down, except for one player. But on the other hand, there's a lot of stuff to figure out this offseason.
Right.
So
Right.
it's not like we're ever going to be bored. There's always going to be something to talk about. So
Right.
let's start with let's start with I guess the quarterback room, and the guy taken in the 5th round who is getting the most attention, and that's Shedeur Sanders.
Oh, that guy.
That guy, yeah, who you would think was actually taken at number 2 with all the news. I mean, I'm trying to prep for this podcast. I'm like, is there any news I missed? I'm scrolling through articles and Twitter, and it's like the first 3 pages are Shedeur Sanders.
Yeah.
Like,
Could be part of the reason why he was a 5th round pick.
Possibly.
Well, I mean, what press could be worse than what we've had the past couple years? And I'm not going to be too upset about the press that Shedeur Sanders is getting. Like, I just saw in my feed that he visited a local high school in Cleveland, and he just got into town. So if he's going to bring that kind of press, I'm cool with that. It's better than having predator press.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's just the distractions. It's
It is.
the circus that, you don't really need from a rookie. And it may be that he is completely committed to his job and he just comes in and puts his nose to the grindstone and does everything right. But just all the rest of that follows him.
It's his name.
It just leads to drama.
Yeah.
It's constantly going to be created. So we're only a week or so into it, and it's already evident that that's just going to be his MO, whether it's his fault or not.
Yeah. Some of that is definitely not his fault, but it's definitely going to put a huge spotlight on the Browns quarterback battle in the offseason here.
Right. Yeah.
Especially when you pick 2 quarterbacks in the draft.
Yeah.
So
we like to make things interesting.
Oh yeah, always.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be Cleveland Browns without a little bit of dysfunction and circus sprinkled in there.
That's right. That's right.
How would we react, right?
Seriously.
Yeah. So,
I mean, we talked months ago, when we started looking at the draft, and that this was probably a great draft to take a couple of quarterbacks in, and because the Browns really had nothing at that point. They had Kenny Pickett and nothing else, and we said, well, maybe we could take a couple of quarterbacks and swing a couple times, right? And if you miss, big deal, right? Because there's guys throughout the draft.
That was before they even signed Kenny Pickett. I think that was when we were thinking they would, maybe get somebody like Kirk Cousins or somebody like that. And we're thinking, two rookies with an established veteran like that kind of made sense.
Yeah. So we said back then, we were saying, well, okay, take a couple of swings at it. Pick a guy who has kind of a low, high floor, right? That can play pretty quickly. That has a lot of experience, but may not be the superstar guy, right? He could always end up being your backup. And also take a guy with a high ceiling. Take somebody who's got a boom or bust kind of a prospect, right? And let those two guys battle it out. And worst case scenario, you come out of this year with a backup quarterback, right? And then you go find your starter next year or the year after, or whatever, right? So my question for you, Lysandra, is if the Browns had taken Shedeur Sanders in the 3rd round as that boom or bust guy, and Dylan Gabriel in the 5th round as the high floor backup guy, would you feel any differently about those two players?
I can't say that I would, just because of how late in the draft it is. I think more than anything, the biggest shock was just how far Shedeur fell in the draft. And so the fact that he was picked so late in the draft was just a surprise in itself. And then, picking Dylan Gabriel, I mean, whether they did it in the 3rd or the 5th round, the focus is once again has been so much on Shedeur Sanders and what Andrew Berry and the guys are going to do. I don't think I would feel too differently. I think I had more feelings about the first pick in the draft. Honestly, it was just, it kind of came out of nowhere for me.
Okay.
More surprise.
Yeah, it was more of a surprise. I mean, I think it was more of, I see where they were going with it,
Yeah.
But
you didn't see us taking a defensive tackle for the 2nd year in a row?
No.
With our top pick.
No.
Not sexy, huh?
Not sexy, but I do see, with that 2nd pick, they did get a linebacker, and I almost think that that's almost just like a just in case, because does anybody know how JOK is recovering? Any news?
No,
See,
there's
that's
no official word.
Not really. No, it kind of sounds like they're still kind of wait and see. That's kind of how I'm reading it.
Yeah, I feel like that 2nd pick was more of like a just in case.
I think if the JOK news was good, we would have heard it already.
Yeah.
So
I think so.
So we're kind of planning to move on at this point, and if he can come back at some point, great. So maybe that necessitated the linebacker pick. Maybe Carson Schlesinger just was the best player on their board at that point. Maybe they just felt like he was a guy that they had to have, right? But put those two things together, and you take 2 defensive players at the top of the draft on a team that has 0 offense.
When everybody's thinking we're going to take all offense, almost
doesn't excite
offense.
anyone, right?
It is not a sexy draft. I'll just say that. Not at all.
Yeah.
Not a sexy draft.
So Jeff, you were talking about the high floor, high ceiling.
Yeah.
Do you guys see Dylan Gabriel as a high floor guy?
I do.
Do you see that translating to the NFL as a high floor guy?
Yeah. I think he's probably almost guaranteed of a backup job on this team because of how the Browns evaluated him. They had him ranked as their number 2 quarterback in this draft behind Cam Ward. So for them to take him at 94 and basically hand him that rookie position tells me that they like his game. I don't think he's the guy that's going to come in and be your franchise quarterback. I don't think that's why they drafted him. I think they drafted him to be a really solid guy that they can sort of keep long term as their insurance policy once they do find a rookie that they really fall in love with, a high ceiling guy. And I'm fine with that. I think that's an important role on a football team. He can have a very long career as a backup.
So why pick up Kenny Pickett then?
Well, see, and that's interesting because the Kenny Pickett move was made well before the draft, and
first
also
piece
well
of the
before the
puzzle.
Flacco signing, right? So I think when they made the Pickett move, they were thinking that he was their rehab guy, their Sam Darnold, their Baker Mayfield, the guy that, after a few years in the league, they could somehow rehabilitate him to some sort of a respectable level. And, maybe that turns him into a trade piece, or maybe if he has a really great year this year, they let him walk. He gets a big contract somewhere else and they get the comp pick for him. Right. So I thought that was a low risk move to do that at the time. Right. The one that confused me was going and signing Flacco, because then it really kind of tied your hands. Right. Because I didn't think you had to do that soon. But I understand why they did it, to sell tickets. So I don't think having 4 quarterbacks in the room at this point is really a problem. I think one of those guys is going to separate himself, and you're going to say, okay, this is the guy we want to see a lot of. And one of those guys is going to be a great trade candidate or cut.
I was going to say, who's not going to make the cut?
Well, that's hard to say, because right now the tape on all 4 of them isn't great.
Yeah.
So, right. We don't have a lot to go on, so that's why they need to get out and play. And hopefully, like I said, you will see that in the way they play. I mean, it's a little scary in camp and in preseason. Guys always look better than they will against NFL competition, right? But they're going to have to make that decision. And if I was guessing right now, I would say probably Pickett is the guy that's going to get moved. And if they do and they get what they spent on him, I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
I'm not in love with him as a player on this team anyway.
Not me either.
Yeah, and he's, like you say, he's in the last year of his contract.
Mm-hmm.
And
right.
They don't, I don't think they're in a spot where they would want to extend him unless he was going to get significant playing time this season and prove that he's worthy of that.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And I don't see that happening, because I think with having 2 first-round picks next year and 2 rookies on your team, you want to see what these rookies have this year.
True. Yeah.
Definitely.
So I don't know. It kind of seems like, to me, like these puzzle pieces just kind of got added one at a time.
Yeah.
Not so much in any plan. You
Yeah.
know? It's just like, oh, we have an opportunity to get Kenny Pickett. We think that could work for us. Now Joe Flacco's available. Maybe we should sign him before somebody else does.
Right.
And then we really want Dylan Gabriel. Oh, but look, Shedeur Sanders has fallen. Let's take him too, because he's a good value.
Yeah.
There's
worse places to be.
Yeah, I feel like
at least we have options. Pittsburgh has a lot worse quarterback room right now.
Yeah, I think going into the preseason, have those options is going to be beneficial.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we had a few questions in the mailbag, so I'm going to kind of sprinkle these in as we are on topic.
Okay.
So from Jody at Jag Vintage 73, his question was, his request for input was thoughts on Sanders having a film crew at camp, which is really just about the circus we've been talking about.
Right.
Most fifth rounders don't bring a film crew.
Yeah.
Of course he fell, and of course his last name is Sanders. Is this a big deal, or do you guys really care? Is it really just all about what he does, or is this enough to create a distraction?
I think it has a potential to create a negative distraction. Right now, yeah, he's trying to make a mark. I think he feels, I mean, obviously he's going to come into the league with a chip on his shoulder because he fell to the 5th round. And that camera crew isn't going to do any damn good if you come in and you're a bust and you have this whole circus following you as well. So
Yeah.
I'm hoping that it dies down a little bit, which I doubt it will, unless, something miraculous happens between now and the beginning of the season. But I think it does have a potential to be a negative distraction.
Yeah, I agree. The biggest risk, I think, is that every morning you turn on ESPN, the talking heads are going to be saying, why isn't Shador getting more snaps? Is there some conspiracy to keep Shador from being successful? You're already hearing it from RG3 and everybody else that, they're setting this kid up to fail, right? You know what? If he comes in,
needs to be quiet. Yeah.
Right. If he comes in and works hard and earns the respect of his teammates, he's going to get opportunities. It's that simple. We need a quarterback.
Yeah.
Right. But if it's all about, the circus and stuff, then his teammates are going to check out from him pretty quick. And that'll be the end.
That does trickle down to the rest of the locker room. So
of course,
absolutely.
That's a very fine line that you're walking, because once that trickles into the locker room and you're in, it's in the players' heads, that'll mess the chemistry up, just the vibe.
Especially from a rookie.
Yeah. And there will be cameras there when he does things like goes to the school. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
There are plenty of cameras around when he plays in preseason games, even in camp. So that's going to be on film, and that's what really matters.
Yeah.
Okay. The rest of this stuff doesn't really make any difference. And I think it's understood that he and Dylan Gabriel are the ones who are going to get the biggest chance this season to show what they have. I mean, I don't know why they wouldn't. Draft picks. I mean, what do they have in Kenny Pickett? What reason do they have to want to see what Kenny Pickett is this season?
Yeah,
not
a long-term answer.
Right. And Joe Flacco isn't either. I mean, I think people want to see Flacco play, but, I think people would be happy if Joe Flacco started the first couple games and then we got the rookies out there.
Yeah.
To see what we have in them.
Right.
So, all right, I've got another question. We'll just get this one out of the way from the mailbag, and this is from Bill Petrello at Petro Rock 44. You can follow Bill, and his question is to ask Lysandra what the difference is between Denver fans and Cleveland fans.
I can
no
give
swearing,
her...
Lysandra.
Oh no! Honestly, I'm married to a Broncos fan, and so a few years ago, I flew in, and we came to a game out here. It was against the Bears, I believe. It was the Bears, and I sat in the dog pound, and I brought them with me, and we tailgated. And I can tell you the biggest difference is Browns fans have more spirit, and they throw a hell of a better tailgate than Broncos fans. I can tell you that right now. Browns fans are hands down elite in comparison. So I would have to say over the years, just watching the Broncos here, a lot of fair weather fans. A lot of fair weather fans. Browns fans are very loyal, almost to a fault. And Broncos fans, there are a few real ones out there, but for the most part, I would have to say a lot of fair weather and just delusions of grandeur. But I do have to say that Bo Nix has been very impressive. He impressed me this past season, more so than I wanted him to. So I think the Broncos are actually going to be a pretty decent team for a few years to come with him. He's solid.
We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back with more of the Browns Blitz in just a moment. And we're back with Lysandra and the Browns Blitz. And I want to know, guys, if you give a damn about the depth chart at this point in the season. Either of you.
No,
No. Okay. Thank you.
Not
Let's
at all.
move on. Let's move on.
No,
People are looking at that.
to care. I used to care. I put together depth charts in the preseason for fantasy reasons, but then it's kind of funny because then you end up looking back and it looks nothing like game one.
Yeah. It's real
I
hard
care
to
about
do.
that about as much as I care about alternate helmets and what jersey numbers the guys are wearing.
Oh, we haven't gotten to the jersey numbers yet, though.
Damn.
Do you guys care about the jersey numbers? How about that? Did you
Not at all.
have a chance to look at them?
What's the controversy?
I don't know if there's really any controversy.
Shador was 2 in college, and they're making him wear 12 so that DeAndre Carter can wear 2.
Oh, that's the
Yeah.
Who cares?
Oh, so now so he's getting.
So question is, I don't want to put the whammy on anybody, but we know what happens to our kick returners here in Cleveland.
Right. Yeah. So the question is how
yeah.
long before he has 2 anyway, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. God, it's like, yeah. That's.
You're not.
It's
wrong.
not. It's not a job that I would sign up for, even if I was
kick
good
returner
at
is
it.
a frightening.
Yeah.
Very short shelf life.
It's very short. It's very short. So, how about Devin Bush? You guys want to talk about Devin Bush and his escapades?
No, not at all.
It's a damn shame.
Another
Bonehead.
dumbass. Yeah,
I mean,
That's yucky news. That's yucky news.
These guys need to be smarter.
Yeah.
He needs to be smarter. I mean, and that linebacker room's getting a little more crowded too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can't be stupid,
Right.
A guy who we really needed last season, we could get by without him this season.
I don't know if you put up with that he's potentially your 4th or 5th linebacker. You don't need that drama.
Yeah.
We got enough drama. The circuit's already in town.
We have plenty.
Right.
Yeah. So I haven't seen anything about Gabe Davis signing anywhere. He was cut by the Jags. You guys have any interest in him coming to the Browns?
Well, the one thing about Gabe Davis, I would have to say is he wasn't coming off of his contract is going to be, the Jags are going to have to eat that. So he would be low risk.
Yeah. I think it'd be low risk. Yeah.
I think he would be a good pickup for the
coming
Browns.
Coming off an injury, I believe, but yeah, I mean, he had his 4 seasons with the Bills. He had 2,700 yards and 27 touchdowns playing with Josh Allen.
Yeah.
So the question is,
we just got rid of Moore too.
Yeah. Question is, is he good or was he, more created by Josh Allen? So who gets the credit there? So it depends how you want to look at that. I mean, you still got to catch the damn football when it's thrown. So,
well, I mean, he built up his reputation with Josh Allen. So I would say he would be low risk. And they've got none to lose. We're not going to lose anything signing him, and I think it would add a little more depth to the wide receiver room right now.
Yeah.
Let's just say I'm hoping for a little bit bigger splash this offseason, Rod.
Who are you hoping for, Jeff?
I don't know. We need to find this year's Jerry Jeudy or Amari Cooper or whoever that's going to be, somebody that can step in and lend some credibility to that wide receiver room because it's pretty slim pickings.
Well, what would it take to swing a trade with the Packers? They got like 18 wide receivers on that.
I agree.
roster.
I agree. I don't know who's going to rise to the top there, but yeah, their 3rd or 4th guy is probably better than our 2nd guy.
Probably so.
By a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I floated the idea. I'm like, why? And I know they have Josh Jacobs. I don't really know how much about the guys on their depth chart past Josh Jacobs at running back. I think they had a rookie behind him last year at running back. And I just don't know their team that well to go deep at running back on their team. But I was wondering if we could, trade Jerome Ford for a wide receiver and then sign Nick Chubb. I thought that would be nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Sounds
not.
good
It
in
works
theory.
for us. I don't know
Yeah.
if it works for them.
I don't know if it works for them. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't really know.
Yeah.
So anyway.
Yeah, I think something's going to happen. I don't know where it's going to come from at this point, but we're not going into the season with this group of wide receivers.
No.
Jamari Thrash is your number 3, who's caught 3 balls. That's just not going to cut it.
He's your number. Well, yeah, he is your number 3, I guess. Well, it depends on where you put. Who's the other guy they signed?
Johnson.
Depends where you
Yeah,
put Johnson.
I'm not even counting on him making the team.
Well,
I mean, look,
that might be fair. That might
He was
be
with
fair.
3 teams last year and got cut 3 times. So, I mean,
Well,
why is he guaranteed a roster spot here?
Oh, he's not guaranteed a spot.
And they don't
He's
owe him
definitely
a
not
dime.
guaranteed
They
a
can
spot.
they can walk away from him scot-free without a single penny. So
I think there are probably better free agents out there still available.
Yes.
And you're probably right. There might be an opportunity for a trade.
yeah, that's where Andrew Berry's been successful with wide receivers. I mean, he certainly hasn't committed any high draft capital to the room, and he hasn't signed any free agents to the room. So,
yeah.
I mean, that's his MO. I'm hoping he's going to be able to work his magic again this year.
Yep.
I hope so. So, yeah, I don't think there's anything that interesting in the jersey numbers. So we'll skip all that stuff. So,
I saw the video of Mason Graham asking for his
95.
college number. First he wanted 55, and that was
Yeah.
Ethan Posick's number, and they said, "No, you probably can't get that one." And he said, "Well, what about 95?"
and guys
said,
like
"No,
I
that
don't
one's
think that one's
definitely
available.
out." So yeah, he took 94. Smart kid. Play next to Garrett. Take a number close to his and keep your head down.
Yeah, let's see. Yeah, he's got 94. I think there's a possibility some of these other guys will change their numbers eventually too when things settle. So
Yeah,
we'll see. I don't
Right.
want to make a big deal out of it because it's kind of a thing that's could be constantly changing still.
Right.
So
right.
Yeah.
So Jeff, let's get to what you were preparing
Tonight's contest?
to bring to the show. Yeah, let's go over the contest. Let's make sure
All
we
right.
get that in tonight.
Contest.
All right. Yeah, so we do these from time to time where just for fun, we test your trivia knowledge or something along those lines, right? And trust me, these are easy. These aren't like who played left tackle in 1956. Okay, it's pretty
Luke Rosa.
straightforward. Yeah, pretty straightforward. Tonight it's going to be who was drafted higher. Okay. And I'm going to give you. We're going to start out with the 7 picks this year, and I'm going to give you a comp, okay? And you're going to tell me which guy was drafted higher, okay? And these comps are not player projections, okay? I'm not saying that this draft choice is going to be this guy when he grows up, okay? I'm just saying that similar draft capital was used on this player in a past draft, okay? And I want you to tell me which guy you think was taken with the higher pick. Okay.
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 So don't put a lot of thought into this because some of them are really close. Okay. But
Okay.
you'll see where I'm going after a little while. Okay. So I'm going to start out with the first pick. Mason Graham was taken with the 5th pick overall. I'm going to compare him to Gerard Big Money Warren, who I call Big Waste of Money Warren. Who was drafted in 2001. Was he taken higher or lower than Mason Graham?
I'm going to say higher.
Rod?
I know he was taken I know he was top 5. I can't remember exactly. I'm going to say lower just to say so.
Okay.
It wouldn't surprise me if he's taken 2, but I'm thinking he was. Yeah, I'm thinking it.
He's
I know he
being
was
nice,
top 5.
Lysandra. He was taken third overall. And so he played 11 years in the league with 4 teams. We got 60 games out of him over 4 seasons and 16 and a half sacks, okay, from the number 3 pick in the draft. That's why I called him big waste of money, Warren. Moving on. Second pick, Carson Schlesinger. So there's a couple of real obvious comps with Carson Schlesinger. I think I mentioned last week Joe Schobert is one. Wasn't taken as high. Clay Matthews was taken a lot higher. So those aren't really the guys I'm going to focus in on. The guy that I'm going to focus in on is DeQuell Jackson, who everybody should remember. I mean, he was a legit player with us for quite a few years. Taken the 2006 draft. So Schlesinger was 33. Was Jackson taken higher or lower than Schlesinger?
And what year was this?
2006. Are you looking up the draft, Lysandra?
No, I'm not.
No, she's thinking.
I'm thinking. I'm staring because I have
You didn't get the first one right, Jeff, so she obviously not cheating.
No, I'm thinking.
No, she did get it right.
I
Oh, she
have.
did?
Yeah.
The first one?
Yeah, she got the first one right.
I'm gonna say he went higher.
Okay. Rod?
Lower. I think he was high second round.
Yeah, he was high second round. He was actually the 34th pick in the draft. So one slot later.
Dang,
So
you were
very
tricky.
close. Very close. Yeah.
That one I kind of remembered. Kind of.
So again, 10 years in the league, 7 with Cleveland. Played 96 games for us. So he never missed a game. 826 tackles, 11 and a half sacks throughout his career with the Browns. So if Carson Schlesinger can be DeQuell Jackson, we will have made very good use of that draft choice. Number 3 was Quinshon Judkins. He was taken with the 36th pick.
Mhm.
You guys are going to love this comp. Nick Chubb, 2018. Was he taken higher or lower? Rod, you got to know this one, Rod.
I know this one. Yeah.
Higher.
Rod?
Nick Chubb was taken higher. He was taken 33rd.
He was 35th. Yeah.
35th?
Yeah, he was the 35th pick
Right.
in the 2018 draft.
Doing two close ones in a row.
Really
Yeah.
close. Yeah, they're not always
I know
close.
we had those 2 high picks in the second round. I couldn't
As you
remember.
get later,
and I know he
it
was the
gets
second
harder.
pick that we had.
As you get later, it gets harder to find comps that close. Okay, but so Nick Chubb had. I'm going to give him credit for his rookie season. He missed it by like 4 yards, but basically he had 5 1,000-yard seasons, 6,843 total yards for the Browns, which puts him 3rd on the team all time. If Quinshon Judkins can stay healthy, I think he's got a chance of doing everything Nick Chubb did for the Browns. He's going to get a lot of opportunities.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Moving on. Number 4, Harold Fannin was taken with the 67th pick. This was tough. I'll tell you, the Browns have not drafted a lot of tight ends.
No.
In 2011,
on this.
yeah, in 2011, they drafted Jordan Cameron. Does that name ring a bell?
Yeah.
Sure.
Jordan Cameron was kind of a stud for like 1 season.
Yeah, he had like 1,000-yard season.
And then I think he tore up his shoulder or something, and he was out. But
yeah.
So was he taken higher or lower than Harold Fannin?
I'm gonna say higher.
I'm going to say lower. I don't think they went that high.
Yeah, so Fannin was 67. Jordan Cameron wasn't taken until the 102nd pick in the draft in 2011.
5th round.
So yeah, 5th round. So we got 47 games out of him over 4 seasons. He played 2 more years for Miami. His best year was in 2013, where he had 80 receptions for 917 yards.
Okay, I knew it was close to 1,000.
So yeah, I mean, again,
we don't keep score on this, Lysandra, and
Not at all.
There's no prizes, so we're not even
No
paying
prize.
attention to who's getting them right or anything.
no prizes, no penalties.
Yep.
Yeah. So again, taking a tight end in the late 3rd round or anywhere in the late day 2, day 3 area for the Browns is rare, and there's not a huge track record, right? So if Harold Fanning can do what is expected of him at this point, be a really solid number 2 tight end for us, I'd be happy.
Yeah.
All day long. I'm not expecting him to be a number 1 tight end for us any more than I did with Jordan Cameron, right?
Jeff, I'd be interested to look back and see if they've taken a tight end even that high since Ozzie Newsome.
Well, I'm going to get to that, Rod.
Okay,
I'll tell you. Yeah, so let's just jump ahead because I'll come back to the draft choices. So I had a couple other players here to comp. One was David Njoku. So as I went through the roster, I was looking at how many draft choice or high picks we have that are starting on the team right now. Okay, and if you look at the defense side of the ball, it's like 10 out of 11 are day 1 or 2 picks. Okay, that there are our starters or could potentially be our starters on that side of the ball. On the offense side, there's like none. There's very few. So I pulled David Njoku out because he was the 29th pick, and my comp for him is Ozzie Newsome in 1978 because there just aren't any other comps.
Yeah.
Okay. So was Ozzie taken higher or lower than David Njoku? 29.
Higher.
Yeah, you'd think it's a lot higher, right?
No,
He was only taking
it was 20. Yeah, it was in the 20s. I know that.
Yeah, he was only taking 6 picks earlier. 23.
23.
Right.
Yeah.
Obviously, we know what Ozzie went on to do, but so let me give you the rest of the tight end data. Okay, the Browns took a tight end high in the draft one other time in recent history, and that was Kellen Winslow in 2004.
Yep.
Okay, he was taken with the 6th pick. Okay, and Kellen Winslow didn't play horribly before he went to prison, but I wouldn't call it a great draft pick. So prior to that, you have to go back to the 1960s, and in the 1960s, the name you might recognize, Rod, is Milt Moran.
Yeah.
In 66, but in the 1960s, they took a tight end in the first round 5 times. This was back when Paul Brown revolutionized the use of the tight end and the forward pass for that matter. So we used to take tight ends up high, but that doesn't happen much.
It fell out of favor at some point.
Kind of. Yeah. So anyway, Harold Fannon's sort of an outlier. All right, moving on with the rookies. Dylan Gabriel was taken with the 94th pick. I've got a real close comp for him here. 2010, Colt McCoy. They're almost exact height and weight.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Colt McCoy went lower.
Yeah. I'm going to agree, but it's pretty close. It's very close, I think.
He was actually taken 9 picks sooner. The 85th pick overall in 2011 or 2010, excuse me.
Yeah, both third-round picks, though. Right.
His best year was in 2011. He played 13 games for us and threw for 2,733 yards, 14 touchdowns, and 11 interceptions. His record with the Browns was 6-15. He had 21 starts in 3 seasons, but he did play 12 years in the league with 5 different teams.
Yeah, he just recently retired, didn't he?
Yeah,
really solid backup. And I'll just share a quick Colt McCoy story with you. Back in those days, 2011, 12, 13, I was still flying a lot, and I was sitting on the plane out of Cleveland, and Colt McCoy walked right past me. Back then, again, I was flying a lot, so I was in first class, and he's going back to the coach class back there as he's walking past me. And this was like 2 days after he had gotten his bell rung in a game and got one of his many concussions. And I met eyes with him, and it was like I wasn't even there. He wasn't even there. He was just like a zombie walking down the aisle of the airplane. Kid got his ass kicked, and he was small.
Really?
Yeah, comping him to Dylan Gabriel. Not a bad player, just not an NFL starting quarterback. All right, Dylan Sampson, sixth pick in the 4th round, 126. I love this comp. Duke Johnson, 2015.
Higher.
No, I'm gonna say lower. I think Duke was
So-
a 5th rounder.
So yeah, Duke Johnson was actually a 77th pick in the draft, Rod.
Really? Okay.
He was a 3rd rounder.
3rd.
They
Wow.
thought a lot of him when they drafted him.
Yeah.
So he played 64 games in 4 seasons. He averaged in 4 seasons. He averaged 75 attempts and 321 yards per season. That's 5 attempts and 20 yards per game. Okay, over the course of 4 seasons with the Browns. He went on to play a total of 8 years with 4 teams. But boy, I hope we get more than that out of Dylan Sampson.
I hope so.
Couldn't really figure out what to do with
Geez,
Duke
I hope
Johnson.
so.
And again, if you look at their sizes, they are almost the exact same physical profile. About 5'8", 210, 215, 220 in that range. Okay. Little bowling balls of running back, right? That are the quick change of pace guys. I hope we get more out of Dylan Sampson.
Yeah.
All right. And the last one, Shedeur. So the obvious comp here is DTR, right? The interesting thing is that they were taken 4 picks apart. DTR was taken at 140. Shedeur was taken at 144. I'm going to give you a different comp. In the year 2000, the Browns drafted a quarterback named Spurgeon Wynn. Was he taken higher or lower than Shedeur Sanders?
I'm going to just go out on a limb and say higher.
I'm going to say higher because the Browns took him before Brady was selected, and Brady was in the 5th round, I think. So I'm going to say higher.
So you guys both think I'm trying to trick you now, but it's actually lower. He was drafted with the 183rd pick. And for that 183rd pick, we got 1 start in 7 games, and he was out of the league 2 years later. So let's hope Shedeur outshines him. All right, how are we doing on time, Rod? I'm gonna give you.
We got about 10 minutes left.
I'm gonna give you 3 more current players. Okay.
Okay.
So we've talked a lot about how the wide receiver room is the great unknown. The guy we're counting on to be our 2nd wide receiver right now, Cedric Tillman. He was taken with the 74th pick in the draft. Best comp I found for him was Greg Little in 2011. Does anybody even remember Greg Little?
I remember Greg Little.
Vaguely, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So was he taken before or after Cedric Tillman in the draft?
Lower.
Greg Little. I'm going to say before.
Yeah. Greg Little was actually taken with the 59th pick, so a late 2nd rounder.
Yeah.
In 2011, and he played for the Browns for 3 years.
Well,
actually,
let's say played with the quotation marks, right? I mean,
Yeah,
how
but-
many passes did he catch?
he
Like
he
10?
averaged 51 catches and 607 yards in those 3
No
years.
kidding. Wow, I could.
Yeah.
I never would have guessed that.
Yeah, he averaged that. Okay, so Cedric
Wow.
Tillman right now at this point in his life has been with the Browns for 2 years. This year he would have to catch like I don't know,
100 and
an
some
insane
balls.
amount of balls for like 1,500 yards
To catch Greg Little.
to catch up to Greg Little.
I never
Right.
would have guessed that. I guess
In his
we had a
third
higher
season.
bar back then because I remember Greg Little just being terrible.
Yeah, he was a pretty solid number 2 wide receiver for us for
Yeah.
3 years.
We would take
Wow.
that now.
Yeah,
Seriously.
we would take that. Yeah,
My apologies to one Greg Little.
if he's listening. Yeah,
if he happens to be listening to this
right.
podcast.
Yeah.
Nothing but love.
All right, so
Absolutely.
here's a good one. Greg Newsome, and again, it's because we only have so many picks that are still playing that I can do this with, but Greg Newsome was the 26th pick.
Yep.
I'm going to comp him to the top dog, Hanford Dixon, 1981. What was he taken higher or lower than Greg Newsom?
You're going back far enough that I have no hope of honestly remembering when Hanford Dixon was drafted.
Yeah, I mean, we've taken a lot of cornerbacks, but I thought we got to get the mention of the top dog in here.
Oh, yeah. Definitely.
And it's a good comp, really. I mean, similar players.
Lower.
I would guess lower because the Browns were picking lower back then, and I don't think Hanford Dixon was a first rounder, so I would guess lower.
Hanford Dixon was a first rounder. He was taken with the 22nd pick in the draft in 1981.
Well,
yeah,
and deservedly so.
Yep, right. Yes.
Yeah.
Nobody would have come up with that.
And again, my apologies to Hanford Dixon. Yeah, you're a first
Hanford might
rounder
not
in my
have even
book.
remembered that.
Yeah.
So, I'm like,
yeah. All right, last one. And this is another guy that we are really pinning our hopes on. Okay, DeJuan Jones, one of the few mid to late round picks that we've had some success with, right?
Yeah.
Taken with the 111th pick. The only guy I could find to comp him to, and this is sort of ridiculous, because it's only like a couple of years earlier, was James Hudson. So, who was taken earlier in the draft, DeJuan Jones or James Hudson?
I'm gonna say Hudson.
I think DeJuan Jones was taken one round earlier, if I'm not mistaken, but I could be wrong.
Well, Lysandra, you're right, but it's only by one pick. It's
Okay.
110 versus 111.
Wow.
So yeah, so they're both taken at about the same spot. It's interesting to me that we have so much more expectation for DeJuan Jones than we had for James Hudson. James Hudson was viewed as a pure swing tackle and nothing more. DeJuan Jones, we've always set the bar for him that he needs to start either on the right side or now on the left side.
Yeah.
And the crazy part about finding that comp was I went way back in the time machine to try to find somebody else that the Browns had taken in the mid rounds on the offensive line period, let alone tackle. And it's like almost none. And I've bitched about this on this podcast that they have just committed malpractice when it comes to drafting offensive linemen in this organization for decades. Throw out Joe Thomas, and I mean it's ridiculous how few offensive linemen we've taken. Right, Jed Wills, we got some decent play out of for a few years, and before he sort of retired on the field. But I had to go back to 1979.
Wow.
To find a guy that was taken anywhere after DeJuan Jones and James Hudson, who had any sort of starting role on the offensive line, and that's Cody Risen, who was taken with the 183rd pick in the draft. He was actually a starting tackle during the Sipe era.
Yeah.
Okay. It's crazy how little draft capital the Browns have committed to tackles in particular. Yeah. Just looking through the history. And that is going to bite us in the butt next season, if not by the end of this season.
Yeah.
So anyway, that was fun. Thank you guys.
It was.
Yeah, that was very informative.
Yeah.
we try to do a little bit of edumacating here too.
Every now and then.
I thought it was great to kind of see, to kind of compare where the Browns were, mentally making those choices and how the expectations are completely different, but how similar that their places in the draft are. So that was very interesting.
Yeah, and now you see why Jeff didn't tip us off as to what he was going to do so we could study for this ahead of time.
All you'd have to do is pull up one website and you can look all this stuff up.
Oh, yeah.
Trust me, I have spent time looking over Brown's past drafts, but it didn't do me a whole lot of good tonight. There was a couple that I remembered, but aside from that, nailing when those picks were made, it's very tough.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is.
Yeah.
There's
And
a
by
few
the way,
where I generally know where they were, but
yeah, you have an idea, and some I just didn't remember correctly, but yeah. Cody Risen actually showed up at one of my when I was in high school. He showed up to one of our high school football games.
Nice.
It's kind of cool. Yeah,
Nice.
I remember that. So I brushed with an actual brown when I was in high school. So that's pretty cool.
Nice.
We've got one more mailbag question, and then I think we'll wrap things up. This is from Jeremy Bonham. You can follow him at 14 Bonham. Will we see a bounce back year on defense this season? What do you think, Lysandra?
Let me look at how we have our defense here. I'm going to have to say that there's a few things that kind of play into this. I would like to see a healthy JOK, most definitely, for us to have a successful season. But I do, with the pickup of Mason Graham, adds a little bit more to the line and helps Myles Garrett out. So I feel like linebacker has been one of those positions that we need a lot of help in, and JOK was doing amazing until he got injured. So I think that a lot of the success of the defense, I think, is going to lie on how JOK rehabilitates. That's how I feel. So,
yeah. What do you think, Jeff?
I think the defense is going to be solid this year. I think there will be a bounce back. My only concern is the same as last year: is are they going to get a breather once in a while? If we can run the football like we think we're going to, and possess it a little bit, and give our defense a little bit of a break, I think we've got a top 5 defense. I think they really struggled last year because of how putrid our offense was. Like I said earlier, we've got a lot of really solid players on our defense. We've invested capital. We've got good scheme. We've got good coaching. And all we need really is another safety. And I think we're pretty solid on that side of the football. So, I think the defense will be our strong suit this year. I'm way more worried about our offense.
I heard that they're looking at Justin Simmons. So
I'm sure they're going to look at a lot of linebackers / safety types.
He played for the Broncos, and they had a solid backfield in the defense there. So, I mean, I think that would be a solid pickup if they were able to pick up a veteran safety.
I really liked bringing in Rodney McLeod the last couple of years. I think they could make that kind of move as well. But I don't think that Andrew Berry is going to go into the season with Ronnie Hickman as a starter.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, you got 10 guys on that side of the ball who are day 1 or 2 picks basically, and Ronnie Hickman's a UDFA. I love him. I was rooting for him to make the team, but I'm not sure I want him to be my starting safety. So I think they can find somebody else to step in there. But I'm down with our defense being good this year.
The offense is the big question mark.
Yeah.
We
could lose games. We could lose games, 4-2.
We don't want to see that.
Our quarterback gets sacked for a safety twice, and we sack theirs once. I mean, that would be boring football.
I don't think we want to see that.
Not at all.
No, we need to be able to put points on the board, and that's why I'd like to see us go out and find another receiver. Give whoever's going to be our guy at quarterback another weapon.
Or our guys.
Run. Well, you can't just run and dink and dunk all day. There's got to be a change of pace every once in a while. So
starts at the quarterback, though. I mean, I'm just interested to see who do you think is gonna play game 1? Like deep down, who do you think is going to play game 1?
I said last week I thought it could be Shador.
You think so?
It could be. He's got as good a chance as anybody. I mean, realistically, it's probably going to be Flacco because that's who the fan base wants, and this team reacts to the fan base.
It sounds like it's who Njoku wants to, because he really last season he made it very clear how much he wanted Flacco to stay. So that is one promising thing, is that I mean the chemistry between the two of them is definitely going to be something promising on offense that I'm looking forward to seeing.
Yeah, he had his best season with Flacco.
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
I enjoyed watching those two
That's
play
fun.
together, and I hope that it continues if he ends up being the starter.
Yeah,
it'll open other doors.
Yeah, and I would agree. I think I mean, if I had to guess right now, there's ways to go, and we have to see what happens in the preseason games and who's healthy and all that stuff. But I would think that Flacco is going to start. But I really think that even if Flacco plays well, they're going to use this season to evaluate the two rookies. Yeah, and I think those guys are each going to get several starts. And I think that's the way it should be, because you have to know something going into next year's draft. I mean, how do you go into the 26th draft with 2 first-round picks and not know what you have in Shakur Sanders? And, and if they really like Dylan Gabriel that much, and I know, Jeff, that you see him as a backup, I don't know that the Browns see him that way. If the Browns think that he is a guy who could potentially be their starter and their franchise guy, they have to see what he can do too. So to me, you've got to see each of those guys play 5 or 6 games this season so that you can make a decision, because I don't believe that you can, look at both of those guys, a few games and then carry them both on the roster next year and then, just keep kicking that can. You have to know what you have in them. Because I think realistically, one of those guys is on the team next year, and one is probably not. Right. And if you don't feel like you got your guy, you're taking another quarterback next year.
And I hear it's a stronger quarterback draft next year too.
There are. Let me throw some names at you, and this is all. We don't know who's gonna declare and so forth. Obviously, everybody knows about Arch Manning. There's a kid, Nico Lamaleava, who has the size and the ability to be a really impactful franchise quarterback. We all know Drew Aller, Penn State. Carson Beck went to Miami this year.
Didn't know that.
After being he had a elbow injury, I think, last year. So he's healthy again. He's going to play one more year to try to build his draft stock back up. A couple of years ago, he would have been a number 1 probably. And then the 5th guy would be Lenora Sellers. So those 5 guys, Lenora Sellers is a big, powerful dual threat guy.
He's with he played for Cal. Is it Cal?
Yeah, I think so.
Like that.
Lamaleava is just somewhere out USC or someplace out there too.
Okay.
So those 5 quarterbacks, and then there's a couple of other smaller guys that everybody seems to be in love with too. So yeah, it's a potentially pretty deep quarterback class next year. So I think the Browns have a much better chance of finding the Bo Nix, next year or somebody that's not going to be, the top pick in the draft that can still be a franchise quarterback. Yeah. Then this year when there was really only one guy, right? So I don't disagree with you, Rod, on the fact that they need to get out and look at these guys and so forth. I just think if the Browns felt that strongly about Dylan Gabriel, they wouldn't have waited to the 94th pick to take him. They would have just snatched him earlier, right?
Possibly, but they also kind of know where, or have a feeling where other teams would take him. And obviously, how many teams were going to take him in the second round?
I don't think many teams were going to take him in the 4th round.
Right.
Honestly, I mean,
Right.
most
So
teams had him. Most teams had him as the 8th or 9th quarterback in this draft.
Right.
I mean,
So
most
they
of the
really
analysts
liked
did,
him.
too.
So they took him a round or 2 earlier to make sure
Yeah.
they got him.
The best
You know,
player on the board, right?
And again,
Right.
I'm saying that of those 4 guys in that room right now, Dylan Gabriel has, in my mind, the best chance of being on the roster in 26. I think he has absolutely the
I would
best
agree.
chance because he's
Yeah.
under contract as a rookie. The Browns obviously love him, love his play style, right? And I think he brings something in terms of the ability to play quarterback for them. I just don't think that there's a heck of a lot they need to find out about him. I think they need to find out about Shedeur. I think they potentially want to find out about Kenny Pickett. Okay. There's nothing they need to find out about Joe Flacco. Everybody knows exactly what you're going to have there for 5 games, and he's going to go back to his mom's couch. Okay. We need to figure out Shedeur Sanders, and we need to figure out maybe Kenny Pickett, in my mind. So that's why I'm thinking Shedeur probably plays.
So, Lysandra, how many games do you need to see out of these guys this year to know what you're doing in that draft next year? Out of Shedeur, out of Dylan Gabriel, out of Kenny Pickett, what would be ideal for you? A breakdown, kind of how, a split on games. Not that it's necessarily going to work out that way, but
no. But I think maybe I'd like to see them each play in maybe 2 to 3 games. Just to kind of get a feel for their ability to manage the game, their ability to withstand pressure in the pocket. I mean, all the situational plays that, I think that doing 2 or 3 games will give you a better overall high overview picture of their ability to manage a game. So 2 to 3 games for me. Usually when I watch a quarterback, like for instance, I'm going to give you an example here. When I saw Jordan Love come out and play with the Packers, he had like a different kind of vibe and a confidence to him. It's like when you see a quarterback go out there and they just know what to do, and you can tell that they've studied the offense, and he just had a little bit more control of the game and a little more poise in the pocket. And I enjoyed watching him, and I was like, he's going to be a solid quarterback. And as I've watched him progress, it was easy to see, he's their quarterback now. So I think it's going to take a few games. I would love to see, because the NFL is a totally different bear than college. Yeah. So I definitely want to see 2 to 3 games.
I want to take you back to expectations, though, because Jordan Love was a first-round pick.
Yeah.
And he sat behind Aaron Rodgers for what, 3 years?
Probably
he did.
3.
I mean, he should have his shit together.
Long time.
Yeah, he should have had his shit together. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, but I mean, but there's some guys that sit behind a quarterback that long and still don't have their shit together. So, I mean, when you get out into a game situation, game speed, you want to see how they react in that game speed situation. The NFL comes at you fast, so I want to see how Shedeur Sanders handles it.
And it comes at the quarterback even faster in Cleveland.
Oh yeah,
they're not getting that opportunity. They're getting thrown out there behind a shit offensive line.
Yeah,
with few weapons. Okay, and they're going to be asked to prove that they're an NFL quarterback.
And this is the perfect way to see if you got what it takes. Throw them to the wolves and see what we got.
Yeah, So Jeff, how would you break the season down? Games played by these 3 guys. I'm not counting Kenny Pickett right now. I'm counting Flacco and the 2 rookies. Kenny Pickett might get a little playing time. I don't think that's consequential.
I think the only reason you play the veterans is because you feel that the rookies just aren't ready yet. They don't know the playbook. They're just going to get their head handed to them, like we saw with DTR last year.
Yeah.
Okay, and if that's the case, if they're just not mentally ready to play, then you play veterans for a little while until they are. Okay, and you try to at least build some continuity in an offense, where
Yeah.
you know that a certain number of plays and packages will work with your personnel, and then you plug those guys back in. Okay. I think Shador has the talent to exceed that time frame. I think Dylan Gabriel probably could do it too. I mean, he played more college games than anybody in history, so he should be ready. But I also thought that about DTR a couple of years ago. He played a crap ton of college football too.
Right.
And he was obviously overmatched. So that's what the coaching staff has to do. Yeah, the coaching staff has to figure all that out, right?
Right.
I think a lot. I mean, all of these guys in the draft know how to play football. And I think that every single one of these guys coming out of the draft, I mean, you're going to have your superstars, but I mean, let's be real. Tom Brady was the last pick in the draft, and he's one of the greatest of all time. So there could be another Tom Brady sitting in the middle of the draft somewhere, last pick. I mean, Brock Purdy.
Right. You're thinking of Brock Purdy, but Tom Brady was a fifth rounder.
Yeah, but I'm just saying,
you're right.
A lot of this is mental too. Some of these guys have what it takes to play in the league, but if they have all the talent in the world and they're not right up here, you're not gonna, you have to have that perfect balance of the mental and the physical, and
the situation you're put in is important as well.
Yeah.
Okay, Jaden Daniels wouldn't have been Jaden Daniels last year if he wasn't behind that Washington offensive line, right?
It's like playing the lottery every year with football players. I mean, let's be real.
Yeah. I think you guys are both right, and I'll tell you what I would do. I would do really what you're saying, Jeff. I would start the veteran for as many games as we need. 2-3 games, whatever. If the guys aren't ready, and then I'm going to start Dylan Gabriel for as many games as I need to see what we have in him, which is probably 3 to 5 games. And then I'm probably starting Shador Sanders for the rest of the season. That's the order I would go in.
Okay.
And Browns fans are going to absolutely hate that because they want to see Flacco because they think that gives us the best chance to win and make an actual run. And I don't think that's what this season is about. I just don't. I think this season is about evaluating some players. It's about figuring out the quarterback position, and it's about getting better. And it's about, finding out what they have in the rookies they got this year and other guys that they bring in and building and getting even stronger for next season. So I thought all along this was really a 2-year process. That doesn't mean they're mailing it in this year, but you have to find some things out along the way while you're playing these football games. And the quarterback position is the most important thing they've got to find out.
Sure.
I mean, I hope they run the crap out of the ball and all that, but man, they've really got to throw the ball enough and let the quarterback do enough different things that we can figure out what these guys can do. So let Flacco play a little bit, get the fans excited, sell some jerseys, and then, see what we got in Gabriel. And then man, if they can give Sanders 8 to 10 games so that they really feel like they know what they need to do in the next draft, that is vital. Yeah. Because if you got to use those 2 first-rounders to go get a quarterback, you do it. And if not, man, you take the 2 biggest studs you can get to fortify around Sanders or Gabriel if you think he's really your guy.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. The only question really is how much are you willing to lose to find that out?
That's right. Well, I mean, you got a good fan defense.
The fan base has to accept the fact that that's what they're doing, and not panic when we lose a few games.
I don't know how you find out what you have in these rookies without risking losing a few games.
That's right.
I don't know how you do it.
Right.
It's just part of it. So
yeah,
it's people can get mad and it's wait till next year, but it's the position we're in right now. And it can still be a whole lot of fun to watch these guys, and it's going to be fun to watch the defense. And the tailgates are going to be great.
I can't wait.
Yeah. So All right. Well, let's get some closing thoughts in here. So, Lysandra, we really appreciate you joining us tonight, and everybody can check you out at LaVida Lysandra on X, and of course your podcast at the Real Pod Squad. And again, you've got Hayden Grove coming up on what date?
On May 13th at 8 p.m. Eastern Time.
All right.
On
Excellent.
YouTube.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah. So, do you have any closing thoughts tonight?
Oh gosh, I'm very excited for the upcoming season. As always, the off season for being a Browns fan is always probably one of the most exciting times, just because of all the buildup that we have during draft and all of the crap that we talk to each other online. Very excited for that, and very excited to be able to celebrate with everybody locally. So I think that's the big thing for me, is coming back home and hopefully celebrating a successful season.
Sounds great.
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely. Jeff, closing thoughts tonight.
I'm just going to mention real quick, because I missed it when we were talking about next year's draft. Deep at quarterback, not deep at left tackle. I'm only seeing a couple possibilities. So, boy, fingers crossed that DeJuan Jones holds out.
Yeah.
That he holds up this year and doesn't get hurt and plays like the star left tackle that we seem to think he's going to be. Otherwise, we're going to be in trouble.
I know.
Well, we might be dumping some payroll next year, cutting a guy or two that we know of. So maybe they'll be able to sign somebody.
Oh, yeah.
Anyways. All right. This has been the Browns Blitz. We thank you for listening, and we will catch you next time.